Good afternoon. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I say us because I believe I have everyone ready to learn from our guest today. I'm super excited about today's event. I call it event today's program. I'm really excited because I have two wonderful ladies joining me today, and it's such an honor to have them on Finding Out with Special Needs this evening. So I remain Lola Aneke, and I welcome you gladly to Finding Out with Special Needs. Sunday Precious, I see you. For everyone joining in, I see you, and I truly appreciate you for choosing to spend your evening with us. I bet you to go watch your while. Today is such a phenomenal day. I've been looking forward to this day to have two great women with us. I just can't wait for the outcome of today's program. I'm really excited, and I'm not going to waste too much time to talk about today. You know that whenever we have industry focus, we bring in the best of the best in the field. So today we are bringing the best of the best in the field of autism. Okay, and they'll be telling us a lot of things, and we'll be learning from them today. I have my book and my pen ready to learn. Okay, so if you're joining me, please come on in and ensure that you begin to drop your question on the question section so that you can have your question answered on time. I don't want us doing that towards the end when we're about rounding up and we need to start getting those questions to them. They are waiting to answer your questions. Remember, it's industry focus. And today I have two great women, sorry. I'm so excited. I hope I'm not just going to, I'm really excited. So happy to have you all. Vicky Wilson, welcome. Ozioma Ike, welcome. Pamela Manu, welcome. And to everyone, welcome. So without much ado, I'll be bringing in our guests. They're already in the studio. So I'm going to be inviting them in. And I'm very happy to invite the first guest in. And that will be... Good evening, Ma. Good evening. Good to have you, Ma. Can you hear me?
Good evening. I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you very well.
You're welcome, Ma.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let me bring in Mrs. Akande. Then we started all of. Everyone is waiting to have you. Good evening, Ma. Good evening, Mr. Akande.
Good evening. How are you? Auntie Sewa. I'm How are you doing?
Yes, sister.
I'm so excited to have both of you on the same day. I hope I can calm down.
My darling sister, how are you?
My thank you, Ma. Good evening, Ma. Good evening, Mrs. Koina. Good evening, Mrs. Akande. Everyone has been waiting. The moment we put out the flyer, we're like, we cannot afford to miss this. Everybody has been waiting and counting down. And we are glad to have you both. Wow, this is huge for me. Thank you so much, Maz. Thank you for choosing to honor this invitation. I know that most Sunday evenings, everybody just wants to relax, but for choosing to spend your evening with us, it means a lot to us, and we're thankful. Thank you so much, Ma. I do not feel equipped enough to read your bio, because the bio, whenever I have to read some bio, I'm like, they're going to be biting your tongue. It is bio, because both of you, man, you've done so much, really. So I said, what I'm going to do, I'm going to beg you to please, Please, Mas, please introduce yourself to us. Let's start with Mrs. Koino. Please introduce yourself to us. All we need to know about you. Please, Ma, we want you to go first, and then Mr. Kode will go second. Over to you, Ma.
Okay, my name is Mrs. Sewa Kweno, and everybody calls me Auntie Sewa because I prefer that. And I'm a mother, 2 children, and the second one is on the spectrum. He has autism. He's a man with autism. He's 38 years old. So he was diagnosed a long time ago in the United States, where I was living. And when he was diagnosed those days, I was referred to as a cold mother because it was my fault that my son has autism. And unfortunately, I went to the library to read. There was very little. And the information was, I kept hearing because I don't love my son. And then there were some psychologists also who were saying that I did not breastfeed. And I'm like, wait a minute, but I have a daughter who is 5 years older, who is doing amazingly. She's done very, very well in life. But I saw that, of course, I love my child. And but then I lived in a place where I had no family and no one, just myself, my husband, and my 2 kids. So I turned to the church, which I always, and then went one day, they were after the diagnosis, I just burst into their prayer meeting. I wasn't part of that church because I just moved into the neighborhood and just told them about my diagnosis. And as God would have it, there was one woman there who had lived in the Sudan with her parents as missionaries. So these people just enfolded me. And so God just provided these people for me. That's the short part of it. But I suspected my son had a difficulty by 15 months. And I said this to the doctors and they said, oh, he's a boy, he will talk, just calm down. But this was, and I don't want to bring vaccines in here, but I suspect greatly that that was also a factor because his temperature went up, that wasn't coming down for 5 solid days. There was severe temperature, everything. So this is when by 18 months when he wasn't talking, because my son is somebody who did not have language and then he disappeared. He never really spoke. So by 2 years, I went to the hospital and they had a whole team, you know, in the US, and he was diagnosed with infantile autism. And so basically, this is how my journey started. When nobody had a clue as to what was going on, this was in the United States of America. I had started taking him to preschool, and anytime I would take him, because I wanted to start work when he was 2 years old. Because I believe, this is my personal belief, when you have a child, you have to nurture them. And then this is what I did with my daughter at 2, I started working. So going back, and I couldn't go. Every time they call me, come and pick up your son. You go here with this boy who's refusing to go for a walk with everybody. You know how in the preschool, they get them all together. And here's my son lying on the floor, refusing to join the team. And it was so heartbreaking. The school was very close to us because we only had one car that Daddy had gone to work with. And because we were new in the neighborhood. And it was there, so I changed schools and I would always be called to come for my son. And so therefore, what would I do? But thankfully, I met these women, all white women in America. So I lived in a lily white neighborhood when I had no one. And so they enfolded me and helped me get through this diagnosis that nobody really seemed to know about. So I just struggled and struggled, but I would say that God has ordered every single step that I have taken with my son leading to this. So then I fast forward, he was great once he started school. By age 3.5 to 4, he then went to school and they would pick him up this is where I started learning about autism, because then I started volunteering in his school to learn about this thing called autism. But I'm also a trained nurse practitioner in the States. But I remember during my nursing training days, in my psych rotation, I had seen one man who was all withdrawn and sitting in a corner, and they mentioned the word autism. But at that time, I just said, okay, yeah, that's autism. And I just passed and we all just went. But then when I get the diagnosis and I start blaming myself, okay, God, is this a punishment? I didn't do something, I didn't show love. You just go through very different things. I was going cuckoo. I'd been through depression at those days. But then these women who enfolded me would just come when he started school and go to Bible studies with them once a week, and the rest of the time I'll just go to the school, whatever can be done, help in the library, help in the classes. So I worked with all kinds of different children with autism, cerebral palsy, in not his classroom, because if he saw me, he wouldn't do any work. So this slowly I learned, and then he started responding. I know him by the age of, well, when they taught him, he was following through. Only that with him is the verbal challenges. Writing his name, even when they were doing multiplications and things. I remember one of his teachers saying, by 8 or 9 years old, he was able to understand the concept of multiplications. So he was doing quite well. And then he joined an inclusive class then. You know, in those days, they had like the main school, and then there's a classroom for children with disabilities. So therefore, he would do the inclusive class of computer, gym, music, and the different things. And then he would be worked with the speech therapist and the OTs and the different things that they did. So it worked quite well until he became a preteen at the age of 12. And then suddenly I had this different child on my hands, because he was quite manageable as far as I was concerned. What did we give him? Love, love, love. And my daughter was like my rock. She's 5 years older, poor child. She had to grow up so fast. And it's like, take your brother out. And our house was so big, the backyard was so huge. We built a special area with the sand, sensory. We had a swimming pool in the back, which I got rid of because all my son wanted was to enter the pool. And I'm like, one day if I'm not there, we could have an accident. That was another story. My daughter hated me for that, but it's another story. So we did that, and he just started growing. I got into the community. Doing awareness, I went from house to house on my street. You can imagine a white neighborhood, and letting everybody know my son has autism. And what is autism? So I start telling them what this is that I really don't know, but this is what it is. So if you should find him down there, the street, which happened many times, so on our front door and our back door, we had latches. And then we had to chime that in case he ever opened the door, he would be gone. One day during my daughter's, because she had done so well in school and we moved into a new neighborhood, her birthday, we had friends who had come in, from different parts of, we lived in Massachusetts then. And suddenly we couldn't find my son. And this is an area where a lot of people have pools. Hattie had to stop. And then we're looking, he was across the street from my daughter's friend's house. And he was dangling his feet, nicely just on himself in his own world. Thank you, Jesus, because God saved him that day. My daughter just grabbed him. And that is when I decided to get rid of Apple, because he loves water. But then by 12, 13, things started. He'd never taken any medication. because we refused. But yes, he's hyperactive. But then by age 5, I remember my daughter saying to me that I've been praying, Mom, all you can say we should pray, we should go to church. And I've been praying, and my son is naughty. Naughty doesn't say anything. And this is the honest truth. He was climbing the cabinets, and in America, in the big fridges and whatever, he's always climbing something. And he was looking for Cheerios. You know the cereal Cheerios.
Mm-hmm.
And he just said, Cheerios at age 5. Isn't this God? I say this now without tears, but it is. And when my daughter's going to college, and she applied, so many schools gave her full ride, writing about her brother with autism.
Wow.
And she wrote why she believes in God. And she told the story of the day she doubted God, and God gave her an answer right there and then. So we went on, and fast forward, we were doing quite well. He had autism, he wasn't talking. But we had started those days, there was no PECs, but we're using a lot of pictures and different things. There was a speech therapist, an old speech. She was so amazing. I'll never forget her, Alice. She said, just take pictures of everything you have, and we just keep pointing and pointing, because he wasn't pointing. So we intentionally had to teach him how to point, how to say. So the words started coming slowly. He would say, what do you want? So we locked the fridge. For you to get anything out of the fridge, you must say a word or point or sign. So this is how it started. But then the teenage years came in, and he had seizures, and he lost all of his gains. By the age of 14, 15, my son, the words he had learned, his name, he could still write his name, but he knew our address, he knew my telephone number, he knew these are the things that basically anything that he would teach him, I would learn and would just follow through. So he lost a lot of his gains, became aggressive, extremely aggressive. And my husband had then moved to Ghana to start business. I refused to come to Ghana. I said to him, if you're going to Ghana, that's your problem. But there's nothing for my son in Ghana, because we would visit, and the stairs. People look at you, even family members, and and they talk behind your back that, oh, you've done something. In Ghana, we call it sikadro, like you use it for money ritual. So why was I going to come to Ghana? But then, unfortunately, I had to come, and I keep telling people I had to arise and go to my father's house. And so we came to Ghana because I was ill. I had started a business. I was a lactation consultant. It was going finally well. I could finally work. But then these issues came. I also had an accident. I was rear-ended bump. I couldn't do anything on my back. My daughter had to take time off school to come. We moved to Florida to be with my brother because I couldn't travel. And so my daughter took time off school, took a year off to come with me to Ghana. And when I came to Ghana, the rest of the story, I didn't come to start an autism center. But when I came, I took him to a school which I knew it wasn't the right place, but I needed him to go somewhere. And if there was an issue, I would have done what I'm doing now with them. But there was an issue. I invited a man there who was a speech therapist who had just come back from England also to help me at home in the afternoons with my son. And the proprietress got angry. And she spoke to me like I was less than. And I'm like, you have a child with a disability, you have no right. Withdrew my child immediately. And that's the beginning of the Autism Awareness Care and Training Center. So we can continue later.
Yes, Mala. We're going to get to that. Thank you so much. Thank you. One beautiful thing we do on Finding Up with Special Needs is that we're very real. And most times I don't even have this discussion with any of the guests. But I love the fact that everybody bears it out at its ease so that people can pick whatever they need to learn. Thank you so much for that. I truly appreciate you. Now, Auntie Sarah, that was a beautiful one. I love the way you said we could call you Auntie Sarah. So I was like, should I call her Mommy Sarah? Auntie Sarah, and she gave me the go ahead. Thank you
Call
so
me
much,
Ma.
man. It's like,
Call me Ma.
Ma,
Like in Nigeria, I like Ma. I like
yes,
all
ma. Yes, ma. Thank you, ma. Zakode, we cannot wait to hear from you. Are you there, ma?
I'm right here. Hello. Can you hear
Fantastic.
me?
Yes, yes, ma. I can.
Sorry.
So,
My,
would like
my
to meet
internet,
you.
yes, sorry, my internet is acting up. So I'm going in and out of I usually have to anytime we have, you know how it is over here.
We are
Never
used
really
to it,
get
so we won't let you move
yeah.
us. Well, you're going to be here with us. So, whenever you go out, you come back in, we'll get you in back. Thank you, ma.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Lola, for inviting me. I think I'm not sure. Am I still on?
Yes, ma, you're very much. We can hear you.
Okay, Lola, give me a minute. Let me just change back to my internet. Let me change.
Okay. While we wait for her to come back, I'll add that when she comes back, ma. Would like you to just tell us, of course, I like the fact that you told us how you began the journey. Okay, she's back. Let me get back.
Internet again.
Hello, ma. Is that
Hello.
okay?
Yes,
Okay, good.
it's a better internet.
Welcome, ma.
Auntie Sewa, that was beautiful. It's always lovely to hear that story. I've heard it over and over again, and each time it sounds beautiful and real. My journey is not very far off from yours. Only that we came on in the 90s when autism was supposed to be everywhere, but still we were in Greenland. And I remember when my son actually spoke at 18 months, had the words were there, found the words, and he had his first word. Apart from that, it was Opnepa. So you can see Opnepa. We are still dealing with it, 2000. So he had the words at 18 months, and then at 24 months, I noticed that he didn't have any more words. I really can't remember whether it was during vaccination or anything. I really can't remember because I was a working mom then. I mean, I used to work in the bank. I studied economics. So when at 24 months he lost the words, and we started to look for why that is. Of course, I went to the doctors. Also, they told me, "Is it boy, stop, please. Don't bother yourself. You will outgrow it, whatever it is." You know, so. But I'm not one that really sits back and leave things to chance. I'm very hands-on. I'm very active. So I said to myself, I kept going until one day I met a doctor who told me that my son had autism. So I said, okay, what do I do? She said, there's nothing available in Nigeria. You have to leave the country and go out the country, maybe the UK or the US, to support your child. And of course, I had a girl first, just like Matthew said. I had a daughter first, and she was about 2 years old when her brother was born. So between now, she was approaching 4, 5, and I didn't want to put. My husband was not even interested in leaving the country, and I didn't want to tear the family apart. So I stayed, and I said, "What resources are available? We'll find a way around it." Thankfully, we had the speech and language therapist, at hand then, Auntie Grace, and she came into the house. Somebody introduced her to me, and then we started off with a school program. There was no all the special schools that were available didn't have autism in it. They had children with Down syndrome, mental retardation. They had, so it was a mix of everything. And I didn't even want. I didn't want to go to research. It's funny that I'm running a special school. That's funny now. At that time. So I kept him in mainstream school, and I asked the teacher to please, whatever they taught in the classroom, she should teach after school. I remember this particular day, the teacher called me when I went to pick him up in the afternoon and told me that my son was playing with his genitals. He's usually playing with his genitals and sucking his tongue. I need to look at it. Maybe take him to church, maybe spiritual. At that point, it's now when I started working with children that I understood that it's sensory related. And that was the thing that kept him calm in the classroom when everybody was and it was stimulated. So for me, it was chance that put me into the line of opening up a center. So by the time we started going back and forth, when he was about 5 years old, I had my little baby. So I ended up with 3 children. So his brother then was very young. On this particular day, we went to the school, and when we got there, I found my son on stage doing choreography. I could not believe it. He couldn't talk. He was doing choreography, but the words started coming at about five plus. Started with one word for a very long time. All through primary school, I don't think there was ever a time we could get more than one sentence or 2 sentences out. And now we can't get him to shut up. He's still not a talkative. He's still a bit quiet and reserved. And he still has his he needs his time to himself. But going through secondary school was a different ballgame. He had a lot of challenges because he was different. He would walk funny, he would talk funny. So they kept bullying him all through until he got to year 9, when everybody realized that he was a mathematics genius and he was coaching everybody in mathematics. So he became a star, and that's when he got the name Prof from. So from then on, they started calling him Prof, and he ended up studying mathematics in the university and made it first class. So that's the story of my son. But the story of my many sons and daughters is in Patrick's. Is in when my son was diagnosed and I didn't find somewhere for him to do, I told myself that there must be something that I can do. So I started to write in the then City People magazine. God bless that man. He gave us places in the magazine to write for free. And families were calling that number like no man's business. I was shocked at the number of people that had children with autism and were keeping quiet. So I decided that I would do something about it. On this particular day, just like Auntie Sewa said, I went to church. It was my birthday, I remember very well. And I went to church and told God, I'm not coming to church again because it looks like every time I come and I tell you that this boy has to talk, I know you're not answering me. I'm not coming to church again, so better do something. And then 2 months, I think 2 months after that, my ranting, I remember that day it was one of my lowest points. And my son came to me and said, Mommy, I want my pencil in a sentence. And for 1 year, he didn't say anything. That was just God telling me that you, this naughty girl, I got you. So that was the beginning of my journey. And one day I was in my bathroom and God said, go open a center. And I spoke to everybody around me to say that I have this ambition. And, I got a nod from almost everybody that said, we'll help you with so much. And the birth of Patrick's came very strong in 2006. And since then, I have been at the helm of making sure that families get the services that is needed. Many more people have come up with centers since then. Many more people have passed through Patrick's to look at how we've been doing it and how they can replicate it. We've been very open with our center. We've been very open with our ideas. We've built a lot of teachers and therapists in the field, with the support of course, my able staff. I didn't do it alone. I did it with a lot of, and we built a community of network. I mean, Lola is one of the very strong advocates in making sure that the network, we are heard all over the world. I admire your energy. I'm not sure I have it. I keep saying that.
I'm sure you might have forgotten this, ma. You gave us the mantle. You said to us, you younger generation, we can't keep you need to move ahead of us. And you gave us that mantle. So we're running with it, ma.
So it's amazing what has been done, since and then I met beautiful Auntie Sewa one day when we went to Ghana to do a conference, the African conference on autism, and I met Auntie Sewa and we've been friends ever since.
Yes.
Every time I call her for anything, resources, she's always able to give. She's kind in her kindness. she has received kindness. And this is just the beginning. And to say what I'll say that at this point, you've been kind. Many people in this field, they don't share resources. They hold on to it as if it's the best thing since sliced bread. Resources are not meant to be kept. That is why we open Patrick's up. The unfortunate part of Patrick's is that many people will come and spend 1 week with us and they will tell us that they will go out there and say, Patrick's trained us to be therapists. So we stopped allowing people to come in and then we opened up a training center, putting people in that training center to support the teachers. Many things are wrong in the field of teachers this day. I was reading yesterday when the email was sent to me that people outside the US will not be given the board certified autism. Yeah. So they're throwing the ball into our court that we need to start a certification for our own country. So it's a dream I've always had. So when I saw that yesterday in my box, I was like, wow, you mean the behavioral therapist group abroad have decided that they only want to limit it to the US. And I know why they said that, because some of the programs that they develop does not have anything to do with us in our own environment. Behavior is very cultural. And the minute we are able to understand that cultural part of behavior, then we will do well. So they are putting the ball in our court. And then I'm charging Lola, Tisewa, myself. We need to come together to make something for teachers in our own environment, in our own community. So thank you very much.
Wow. This,
You know that
no wonder I've been like dancing and happy all day. I'm so excited. I hope I can contain this. And somehow you've answered some of the questions I was going to ask you, and you've done so well. One thing you said, and I'm happy you said that just towards the tail end, you said something about how the BCBA has been, so to say, banned for international participants. Please, our audience, can you hear any echo? I'm hearing an echo.
Yeah.
No?
Okay. And so can you hear?
It on and off.
Okay. So you said something, and you said that behavior it also has to do with culture. I remember when I was having my training and we did something about cultural differences, and they give an example. Like they said to me, Lola, look, we know you're coming from Nigeria. We know you're coming from Nigeria, and our cultural difference. Matter of fact, we did a training, we did a course on cultural difference, whereby they had this African child who was about 6 years old, who was backing a little child, and they said you can't try that in America. So you can see that they always consider the culture, and that was big for me. So you took that a whole semester course, and you just nailed it right now. Thank you so much, Ba. When I said to our audience that we're going to bring the best of the best on industry focus, we're not joking. I hope you guys can hear me and you're listening. Please get your pen and papers and listen so that we can get this thing on. It's called Finding Out with Special Needs. And here you are. You're already finding the help. Mom Sarah has said so many things. Auntie Dr. has said so many things. Please, let's begin to change gradually. Be that change you want to see. And here you are. They're teaching to us they're bearing it all out and what it's meant to be. So here you go. We're going back to yes, ma'am.
On the cultural part of the APA, I had a volunteer who, for her third time, she was studying ABA, and she fought them in Florida that she needed to. This is we call it Oyibo girl. I'll say when I'm there. And she had noticed about the cultural differences, like the way you use praise and whatnot, and we're not the same. So she said to me, Auntie Sawa, I'd like to come and do my research at your center. And I'm looking at her like, research here? But she did this research and it was accepted. Her name is Ashley, and it was accepted, and some of my boys, and right now, what they're doing now, there are 5 of my people, 3 of them got scholarships, and I got a huge discount from, they call themselves now PABA, I think it's Pan-African behavior. I'll find the full name. And
Yes, ma'am.
they started training. So I will send you all that information.
Yeah.
And they did the first cohort last year. No, just a few months ago. The second cohort is going on now. I have 5 of my staff training to be RBTs. And this same girl is doing her PhD in ABA so that she's hoping to live. She loves Ghana. She found a Kenyan man, and so she's ended up in Kenya. And we're bringing her back to West Africa, don't worry. And so this is what is happening. So what I wanted to follow up on what Dotun said, that because we have to find and do our own,
Yeah.
like the 3 of us here now, there's so much that is going on that is so Europeanized or
Yes. Yes.
Americanized.
Yes.
And we have to find ways, even, you know, the flamboyant tree, that the seeds are like you can use it for music therapy. You know, we have to look within our communities.
True.
What we can do, even like when we're teaching, don't necessarily have to have the child in the classroom.
Yep.
This child has autism. You know, you're teaching colors. Why can't you pull the tree, the leaf?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
if you're teaching brown, take
Yeah.
the dry brown leaf, or if the color is changing, and use all these things and go and show them the sky and take them into whatever and things. So I agree with my sister, Dotun, that we have to do our own. We have come so long. I've been doing this thing for 22 years, and I need people like you. As Dotun has told you, also in Ghana, this is where we have different centers that has come up. In the beginning, before I met Dotun, there were a few Nigerians coming into Ghana to learn from what we were doing and things. It's been so long that I've forgotten some of their names, if they remember. But there's a wonderful, wonderful young lady called Amaka.
Amaka, yes.
Amaka is my darling. Amaka is such a, and we still work together. We're even planning something on vocational skills. And congratulations to you, Dotun. I've been meaning to talk to you. We need to go and find big money to do this. Yes, we will find it.
We will find it. We'll find it.
If we do things alone, we will never win.
Yeah.
But if we come together and say, we are doing this thing, and this is what I've been working with Amaka on. Unfortunately, the woman who's going to help us, her son also has autism, and he has severe medical challenges. But she's there. She's willing to raise funds. If we have, and I registered a charity in America. It isn't just Ghana. I call it Autism Worldwide. Therefore, Nigeria Day inside, Cameroon Day inside, Sierra Leone Day, everything day inside. So I will let you know about it, and I'm even looking for people who will be there, because I started with like my family, just so we could get this thing going. And then I will tell you how we have to, because there's money out there for us to get to support.
If we come together.
Exactly. We cannot do this thing alone. And so, Lola, you and the younger ones, you know, well, I'm through Dotun and you guys, and I keep telling people that I'm retiring, and they look at me like, you're retired for the what? You are not retired. And I have a wonderful educational director. Her name is Elom, and another one called Abeku. So they're all I'm going to connect all of you so that we can do this. And as West Africa, yes, I know they're looking at PACA, but we also have to look at what we can do. We started it and we waned. And I think it's about time that we started talking again and bringing people on board. Like, and she says I'm kind. She's the sweetest lady, Dotun. That's I also know. She's kindness begets kindness, right?
Yes.
From one to the other. So it's like we met and we clicked. And I said, God is gelling us. Then Lola comes up. I admire Lola from afar, from her Facebook post. I never knew who she was. And I'm like, who is this girl? She's so knowledgeable. And she's so good at what she does. So thank you. Thank you for bringing me on today.
Wow. I've met the set of sweetest human being in this field. I think the field of special needs autism are the
Yeah.
sweetest human beings I've ever met. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. We'll take about 30 seconds break right now. Please don't go away. And then we'll be back. There's still so much we need to learn. Please stay with us. 30 seconds and we'll be back. So you can have some water. You can just have a leg stretch. I'm going to have some water too. And then we take it from here. Thank you so much, ma'am. Wow. Wow. Welcome back. Welcome back. I'm sure we all saw the little clip that was played between the 18th and the 20th of August. We'll be having the special educator summer camp. And when we say special educator, it doesn't mean that it's just for special educators. We have parents, we'll be having parents, we're having general educators, and all we're trying to do is just to provide more support to individuals who work with children with special needs, the different disability, the kind of special needs we have. And we're going to have Mommy Sarah in the house, Auntie that's going to be there. A lot of, you can't afford to miss it. A lot of people are already registering. Some people are registering, they're making payment, they're not registering. I don't know why. You make payment, you're not clicking on the registration button, saving your seat. Please save your seat. Don't just pay and not save your seat. Because it's going to be mind blowing from all that you've heard this evening. I'm sure you're looking forward to having Mommy Sarah speak to us, having our daughter speak to us. So please make sure you register before the space is all taken up. It's actually, we have a certain number we're expecting. So please sign up real quick. Thank you so much for staying with us. Thank you, everyone. Now, the next question I have is for Mommy Sarah. But you already answered it. But on final perspective, I like to make things very simple. I don't like assuming. So the question says, would you say that this profession chose you? Or would you say you chose this profession? And the reason I'm asking this question is, we have several parents who have children with special needs, be it autism, Down syndrome, but they never did anything. Not that they didn't do anything, they sought help for their children. But you didn't just seek help for your child. You've done great things. And when I saw the age, I'm like, oh my God. Because I remember when I was in my training, we had a woman with us, she was in her mid 50s, going to 60s. And she said to us, she was looking at us, said, we're about 12 in my department. She said, you, this young generation, you are so lucky. She said, you're so lucky because my son is about 38 now, thereabout. But we didn't have anything then. This was in America. We didn't have anything. And then what I said to myself, yeah, I might not have had help for my son. He's still living with me. I remember I had Thanksgiving with her at some point, and she was still practically, she would sit him down. He was older than me then and all that. And she said, but I came back to school so I can help other people's children. So the question is, we know you're doing this. Did you choose it, or did it choose you? Or why are you doing what you're doing, man? That's the question.
Good question. God chose me to do this work because, believe you me, I've been to hell and back, I would say, but hell is not my home. So when the devil tried to take me there, God says, I have a place for you. I have work for you to do. And so I came to Ghana, and my sister had met somebody at her church. And she just saw the child and said, "Oh, my sister is looking for somebody," because I was looking for people who were like me so we could go to the beach, go and sit there, because in Ghana, people just talk about you behind your back. So I just went and I would go to church. And for me, it's always been going to the church and talking to everybody. I'm not somebody who I've become bold now, but the tears come just like that. So everybody knows that. But I've become bold, and I tell people at church that if you have a child like this, I wasn't going to do what I just wanted to meet the parents so that we can go and sit somewhere by the beach and choose it, because I love the water, and just go there and just have some fun, because nobody else would hang with you if you have a child like this. And then somebody would say, "Oh, there's somebody like this in our nursery school, nursery one, somebody like this." So when I left the school I took my son to, now the lady and I were, she's a wonderful woman. She does CP and Down syndrome and things. But I told her to her face that you didn't do well. We could have been even doing things better. So it chose me because I didn't plan on this. I started in my house, in some small back room, as we say in Ghana, some small back room. So people, one person, my sister brought one person, and I'm like, "What do you mean you're coming here for training?" I'm like, "I'm not even a teacher. I have found somebody who helps my son now and then." And she says, "Well, very forceful woman." When she designed our logo, she had plans. She says, "My daughter is joining you." Her daughter was older than my son, and she had also returned from America. And she called two people who had also returned from, we call it Nuha, from the States. And I'm like, "What are you doing, Linda?" She says, "Oh, well, they said they're coming." Before I knew it, we had 4 children. And so, with their sensory issues, my son would only live on chicken and French fries. So I had a sack of potato when I first came to Ghana. He wouldn't eat yam. So whenever I would fry the fries and the chicken, that's all everybody wanted, because, we have different dietary needs. They would all come and put their food aside, otherwise there will be hell to pay. So I was feeding all of them. My house, they were just inside, and my husband would say, "Hey, what, are you running an orphanage, or what else are you running?" But thankfully, my friend's house came up for rent. Mother had passed, she was old, and there was a house for rent that was dilapidated. And I said to her, I kind of twisted her arm, and I said, "We're renting this from you, but we don't have money." She's like, "What do you mean you don't have money?" I said, "Whatever you say, we will find money to pay you." So this really just fell into my lap, and we've just been going and going. Then I have done training. I remember one time I was on, I report CNN, and somebody saw me on there, and they invited me to apply for the Heart Spring Award. This is a very wonderful disability center in Kansas. It was about 3,000 of us, and 10 of us won from each country. So this is where my training also started. I've been back there, and Totun knows Remy. That's where I met Remy when we went for training. Also, Remy Odunsi, another wonderful woman. Wonderful woman. And then in Ghana, I was here, I think, around 2005. Another wonderful Christian woman comes to Ghana, a speech therapist called Lola Aneke. Dotun, you met her. Maybe you don't remember her very well. And then she kept coming and going, and she came to Ghana and said to me, because she had done her research, gone all over Ghana to see what was going on. She wanted to set up an autism center. She was intentional. This is what she wanted to do. And then I haven't met an African like her before. She came and she said, "Oh, but you are doing this, so I must do something else." And I'm like, "Is she for real?"
I don't think she's for real.
we have become sisters. So because she's a speech therapist and she's very good with early years. And so she said, "Okay, I had taken early years. And she said, okay, what you do, I will do the early years. And then when they start, they don't go to, and she started inclusion in Ghana. And so those who were not able to be maintained in inclusive classes, then she was sent to me. And we've been working together. Her center is called Awawa too. I'll send you all that information. You will need to bring her on your
I
program.
remember her.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
We would love to have her.
Amazing. And guess what she's done in Ghana too? Started a speech therapy program at the university. And this is the third lot that they have going now. And she's still working and doing, I don't know how she does it, because she's also not too young, a little, well, younger than me, but and she's been amazing. And different people have come across our path. And there's another young lady that we need to add to this called Yesuto. She's a firebrand. She's some tiny little thing. And this is how we've been working together. Some of them is like it's in Ghana. Other places have come like through Patrick's. We've been doing a lot of training teachers, healthcare workers, you name them, anyone, community workers, anyone who would be trained needs to be trained. But at my center, what we do, we take a lot of them because the children, it's expensive. People are charging exorbitant fees. It needs to stop. Because the person who is selling a bar and what do you call it, somewhere close to you on the roadside, how can she afford to bring their child? So we take a lot, and so we're always looking for money to support these children. And it's not cheap to get resources. As Dotun has said, resources are supposed to be shared. So some of us, there are about 3 or 4 of us who share resources. When we get this, you say, oh, we got a bounty. What do you need? You need crayons, you need pencil grips, you need. So this is what we've been doing in Ghana. And I'm really happy to know that I think Dotun is my little sister, because it's like we're doing similar, sharing and training and doing all these different things. But I watch her all the time. Sometimes I'm like, and Dotun, you are doing amazing.
I'm following your footsteps, ma'am.
Oh, really? But I really love the Living with Autism series. I really love
autism.
Very much.
Wow, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. I'm feeling so fulfilled today. This is one of the best days of my life, really. Thank you so much. I've learned so much. Now, Mrs. Akode, this question will go to you because while Sarah was speaking, she talked about speech therapy. She talked about physical therapy, about pencil grip, occupational therapy. She talked about different things, inclusion, all of that. And what we do on Finding Out with Special Needs is that I'm sure we've had this discussion some time ago about, just like you said earlier on, people will come into Patrick and then they will spend like a month or a few weeks and say, oh, we've been trained by Patrick. And then we realize that the word therapist has been so to say bastardized in this part of the world. Everybody, one same person is the behavior therapist, is a physical therapist, is occupational therapist, it's everything. I'd want you, based on what autism is, because all of the things that Mom Sarah mentioned, that you've mentioned, and some people who don't understand what it is, even if they're in this field, they just feel, oh, special needs, autism, let's just work with these children. They don't understand certain things that they need to be based on the child's need. So the question to you now is, tell us what Patrick Speech does and the various services the provider. Reason being that we have people who are listening to us and parents who are listening to us who feel that one person can be the speech therapist, one person can be the physical therapist, one person can provide all the services their child needs. And that also ties to what Mommy Sewa said. She said it's expensive. We understand it's expensive, but we would rather just get one person who is not qualified to do that job, or go to the people who can do the job and let them know the various needs that child might be in, depend on the need of that child.
Thank you very much. My charge to parents is that anytime somebody knocks on your door to say that I'm a therapist, can you please get a referral? Can you first of all ask where they got their training from and then get a referral? Like I always tell everybody that comes to Patrick's, the reason why we don't have one size fits all is because A speech therapist has his or her own job, which is to make sure that the child can communicate in the area of speech. Communication does not mean that he has to have speech. So we are looking at total communication. The child has to be able to either use signs, gestures, high tech, low tech, whatever works for that individual at that point in time. That is the job of the speech and language therapist. In Nigeria, we do not have many qualified speech and language therapists. And then we cannot afford to, and the speech and language therapists themselves don't like to stay in a particular place. So what we do is to have what we call the speech and language assistant. What that person will do is that he will be monitored by a speech and language therapist. And we will always, at every point in time, open up that individual to international training on speech and how to manage speech and language therapy. That's how we've been running it over the years. The behavior person is different. The behavior person is the one that manages the behavior of that individual at that time. But what happens is that if you are a class teacher, for us at Patrick's, we've devised a means where we will go and make sure you get an accreditation with IBCCES. At least get that accreditation. Even if you cannot do the RBT, get the accreditation of knowing what autism is, how you can manage autism, how you can manage the autism, the child with autism in the classroom. So we're not saying you have to have all the skills before we employ you. No. And many of these people that we're talking about, they are not dropouts. They are graduates in their various fields. And they've come, just like I left my field of economics and came into the area of special education. I had to go and learn all the ropes. I first of all went through almost 10 series of training before opening the center. After opening the center, we went and did a diploma in behavior analysis. I did that with Bolanle Adewale. We did that together at that time. I wasn't willing to go further because I believe strongly that the ABA does not work totally for our children with autism. I knew enough at the foundation level to put me through the center, and that was enough for me. So what my staff did was to go ahead to find out how to manage behavior in other areas. So a lot of them are doing RBT. A lot of them are going for courses. You must go for your continuous professional development. It is a given if you are going to work with us at Patrick's. The sensory issues that the child develops is as a result of sometimes the inability of the child to communicate. So the occupational therapist's job is different from the behaviorist and the speech and language therapist. The occupational therapist will now look at what are the challenges of this individual in the area of sensory overload, in the area of motor movement. So we'll look at gross motor skills, we'll look at fine motor skills, we'll look at proprioceptive, if the child needs proprioceptive input, if he needs vestibular input. Proprioceptive is knowing where your body is in space. Vestibular is totally balanced. You need to know where the child is balanced. The occupational therapists are trained to be able to work with children with sensory overload. We now know that sensory dysfunction as well as lack of communication equals behavior. Because if the child can communicate, we will not see certain behaviors. If the child does not have sensory overload or underload, we will not exhibit certain behavior. So if you don't address sensory dysfunction and you don't address communication and you are addressing behavior, it's a no-no. Because it's the dysfunction in these two areas that makes the child behave in a certain way. Then we go down again a little bit and look at nutrition. What are we feeding this child? What is kind of environment is this child coming from? Auntie Sewa says something which is very, very, very important. You cannot give a child with special needs enough love. If the child has the best therapist from the US that has been working for 50 years and the environment is wrong, you cannot get an improvement. Go and write it down. You will be wasting all the money you have in the world. Your expectation as parents has to be positive. Your energy has to be positive. You cannot use a negative energy and expect a positive result. It doesn't work. So you cannot say that child is not my own. If you see a child that has been struggling over the years, go and look at those three things I've spoken to you about. The wrong exposure to therapy, that's number one. That is one of it. The first is acceptance. If the child is accepted and loved, that is number one. Then it's easy for the child to be able to get through all this. So that is why at Patrick's, you must have all these therapies before you can be at Patrick's. That's why they said therapy is expensive. And we're not even expensive. We're not one of the cheapest in Nigeria as at today.
Me too.
Yes. And then sometimes I even doubt whether I should continue. Honestly. Especially since COVID hit. It's been tough.
Yes.
Both for the families and for us that run centers. It's been a tough cookie to manage those staff that we have and continue to pay their salaries. Some of them have had to, in fact, most of mine have half salary. Either half salary or everybody is at home. And then when you are running a service for children with special needs, it is not, let me put it in capital letter, Auntie Sewa can bear me witness. It is not a money-making venture. You can't make money out of it. It cannot manage your lifestyle. It cannot feed you. In the 15 years that we've been running that program, the center has been running itself. The good thing is we've never borrowed. If we had been borrowing, COVID would have killed us. The good thing is we've never borrowed, but we don't make profit. Whatever we make, pay salaries, we run the center, we run programs, and the only way we are able to make extra money is not even the payment of fees that runs the center. The extra money we get from donations and the programs. When we call for programs, we use the opportunity to raise funds. It's what we use to run the center, and it's what has helped for us to make therapy free from some families that cannot afford services. Post-COVID, I'm not sure we will be able to take anybody that cannot afford services. I am not sure. Because nobody is coming to the Nigerian government, I'm calling them out once again, nobody has been able to support centers that work with children with special needs. And the reason why it is important that we get all the help we need is that so that the standard in capital letter does not drop. We don't want the standard of children with special needs to drop. When people walk into Patrick's, they tell me, wow, you mean this is a special needs center? It does not smell like a special needs center. It does not look like a special needs center. That's how a special needs center should look, by the way.
True.
So nobody should come and say it does not. A special needs center should not smell and look like a special needs center. It should be environmentally friendly and appropriate to accommodate our children. They are human beings first before their challenges. And they must be treated
the best.
Yes. They deserve nothing but the best.
Wow. Thank you so much, Ms. Akode. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for all that you've said. Notes are being taken. People are saying beautiful things. Someone says it's not a money-making venture. Yes, ma, it's not. Acceptance is good. Words are very important, especially so that's positive environment is key, So many things you've said, and I bet people are learning. Now let's come to you, Mommy Stella. I've heard your story. You spoke from when you were in the US, and then we talk about culture. Culture came in at some point and all of that. Now, I've been at different gatherings. I believe in our own too. Like that's why I was trained. Culture matters. And I remember when we were talking about inclusive education, one of my courses during when I was in graduate school, and we talk about how they moved from institutionalization to reverse inclusion and then to inclusion. And the truth is that even in the US right now, full inclusion, I'm just using it because that's where I schooled. I mean, most countries did not achieve full inclusion. And we hear people saying, oh, I've been to some gatherings here, even in Nigeria, where they say, no, it has to be full. Everybody must be in the same classroom. Even if somebody is crying, everybody it must be, I remember during my training, they also said something about the clause that says, least restrictive environment for who? In the sense that There, what we call, so we know that autism is a spectrum. That's how it is in different all the disabilities. We have the profound cases, we have the mild, the moderate, the severe, and we are talking about inclusion. And for people, I remember had someone said to me, a professional said to me, Lola, you cannot have a special day center. The government is going to have to close it down. And I'm like, hold on, hold on. I studied inclusive education, right? Special inclusive education. But getting back home to Nigeria, I realized that the foundation, the early intervention center didn't have much. So I had to start from let's get the foundation right and then put these children back into school, you know. But I'm bringing this question to you because you're in Ghana, because I've heard all sorts. I've heard a lot of things, you know. And I know that you've also, your son started from US and you came to Nigeria. Talking about this issue of special day school, inclusion, and your wealth of knowledge and years of experience, what will be your take? We understand, yes, that I mean a lot of things have been done, and we keep saying developed country has done this, developed country has done that. Research has also shown, but I know that I've not seen anyone that's achieved the full inclusion because there are several factors that affect that. In your own take, assuming Mami Seba become Minister of Education in Ghana, how would you want this to go?
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Yes,
Amen.
help us.
Somebody called me honorable the other day, and I'm like, excuse me? Oh, inclusion. Inclusion started a long time ago when my son was in school. For me, I say full inclusion doesn't really work. Because if you say the least restrictive environment, what do you mean by that? If you have a child screaming the place down, and all the people are in the classroom and you're in the same classroom, even though there's a support staff, still. And I think many teachers don't understand that. And we are so focused in Ghana and Nigeria. I have a lot of my sisters are Nigerians because we like book. In Ghana too, we like book. We think about academics.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go to outer space, or where are we going? Mars or Venus or whatever. First of all, we have to sing to the child's tune. We have to see where the child is at. If a child is having these challenges with communication and sensory issues, what we have like a sensory bag. I will come to the classroom and say to the teacher, why are you sitting in the classroom with the child? If you're doing inclusion, because we have what we've decided, the children that we're preparing for our inclusive class. Because I believe that they have to be made ready to go to an inclusive school. Because sometimes when they come, teaching them how to sit, how to be quiet, even some of them, how to raise your hands in class, when taking turns.
Yes, class readiness, yes.
You have to be class readiness. And many children are not ready. And what I am finding out is this, and it's been a big argument all over. Yesterday, I listened to a doctor from Canada. She says inclusion has failed over where she is, because the children are not responding. So from the age of about, if they start class, let's say 3-4 years old, and they start, by the age they're 8 to 10 years old, we are finding them at our centers. Because the schools are now saying, oh, we can't take them.
Yep.
They can't come. And people hear, oh, you have autism, first level, second, third level, or whatever, and things. And parents are so happy to come and tell me, oh, my child has been diagnosed with autism level 1, then therefore he can do inclusion. So I tell them, autism changes across the lifespan. It can change. So and I'm happy for you that your child is blah, 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 blah. But I will share my story with people, how well my son was doing, and then he had difficulties. We've worked with him. He's done inclusion. He's done in a classroom with all children with different disabilities. He's done the classroom on the side. It's all been. And I know for a fact that the full inclusion did not work for him because he was a different child. At the time that he had all the challenges, the screaming, the blah, blah, blah in the classroom, and he had seizures to boot. I mean, how are you dealing with all these things? But then we in Ghana, and I can say for Nigeria too sometimes, that we just go and sign all kinds of UN declarations and declarations. We sign the UN CRPD, and then because we have to, and as for Ghana, we're a small country. And sometimes we're the first to go and sign, no. But we don't have any clue what we are signing. We haven't even taken the people on the ground who know what they're doing to do this. We have had a disability bill in Ghana for quite a while. I forgot exactly what's there. We're now reworking it. And thankfully, we have a lawyer now, a woman with disability, I think it's polio. She's amazing. And they are working. And my friend who is on the committee sent it to me. She's Nanepia. She said, and I'm like, excuse me, I don't see autism in print. I see as being grouped under a certain group of things. Mm-hmm. And then you talked about inclusion. I said, no, it is a neurological disorder. Don't put us all together under mental health. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So sometimes, and I tell people, yes, there are people with autism that fall under mental health because when behavior challenges come in, then they do this. So inclusion, because people have behavior challenges, you can't disrupt a classroom like that. Mm. And many of the teachers are not trained. Are the teachers trained for these inclusive schools?
And when you call for training, the schools are not even willing to release their teachers for training.
Thank you.
Take the money, yeah. So
thank you. And so thankfully we've had a few people, we got some small grants to do inclusive training for teachers. This is how you put the child in the classroom. And a lot of the parents, when they hear, oh, your child can go to regular school because, oh, he's on level 1 or level 2, whatever that means. For me, it doesn't mean squat to me. It means your child has autism. And we have to work with it. So when you go to the school and they come to see us and we tell them that, look, you need to have a facilitator trained, a learning support person to go to that classroom. And then the schools are visited, and this is where Awawa too does it very well. They visit schools, they go and see who are the people, how safe the school is, because our children take flight. And we always hear about children on their way. And we say we're doing inclusion. It's a big word. Inclusion is, you see, they just look at education. But they forget that a whole community. So for now, what we are doing, because we have older children, it's the society has got to know us. You've got to know us at the malls. You've got to know us at the shops. We will come and arrange your shelves. We will come and do these things. Inclusion does not mean just inclusive education. Mm-hmm. And I think educators, they have to realize that children will not be children forever.
True. Yep.
They need to be trained to go out into society where they will still practice inclusion. When you go out with the child, are you teaching them look right, look left before you go? Do they know their sight words? Do they know what the exit means? Do they know what stop is? Do they know all these things? These things are important. But if you put a child with regular children who it comes to them easy, it has to be, the training should be intentional.
Yep.
And there are wonderful facilitators in inclusive schools because the teachers understand, the headmaster. But some people say, we've also trained our people because they want the money. So this is, I can go on and on and on about this. They are taking the children because they want the money. And their children sometimes double the price of their fees.
Oh, it happens in Ghana?
It happens in
Africa.
Africa.
Wow.
And
There's so much.
A wonderful woman who I met, she had just started something. She needs so much help. And I will get her also. And she's like, people are just taking people's money.
Yep.
And they're not doing anything. And as you said, they say they have trained. Even you trained in America, Lola.
Yes, ma'am.
Is inclusive education really working for everybody? I'm
Every
asking
state,
you.
there have been issues, and that's why I brought this question up. I've been at different areas, and one thing that we held on to, it was an argument, and they said least restrictive for who. Without, and that's why I brought that question up as in level of severity, preparedness, teachers, and all of that. And then, just like you said about the declaration, I was at somewhere, was it I think it was a gathering by top government officials in the, especially in the field of education. And I heard people, and I'm like, guys, I know that, yes, UN, the US, and different countries, some people have not even been to the US to see how it's been practiced. And they were saying to me, no, inclusive education means every child, be the child crying, the child screaming, and everything. I'm like, and learning will take place. I may not have any data and fact and all that, but there's some things that we need to check and be sure. So if and that's why I keep asking that question. I need to know. Like I said in this kind of question, I want to also learn how possible it is it. Because this lady went on and on. She said, look, whether the child has got CPC, VEMA, everybody must be in the, she showed this draft of how the setting should be. And I'm like, I understand that, I understand integration, and I understand all of those, but there's still level of severity. You can do it in different way, but everyone gathering together. I may not be the professor of education or inclusive education, but there's some things that, and for me, I also feel that one of the reasons why some parents have refused to associate themselves with individuals with disability is that we tend to push too many things on them. We are not being realistic. So, for example, and I'm into this field. If I had my child in a class with a child with severe autism, like really profound, and this child is biting, is kicking, there's there's really nothing in because the child is not ready. Even with all the knowledge I have in special education, I want my child to be out of there, not because I do not love this child, but because learning is not taking place for other children.
Exactly.
That's just my own simple layman way. I stand to be corrected, but I'm still in that issue. I'm still in that address of least restrictive environment for who. And when you say least restrictive environment, what is the explanation? We can't just gulp it all in. Remember, this is Africa. And when I started this, I said, even in America, like when I was in North Carolina, we did not achieve full inclusion. We had reverse inclusion, we had different things we were doing. And even this issue of people saying, oh, how can you just have a special day center? Someone that said that to me. And like I said, that wasn't my call, but there was a need. So like we're saying, we are building, we are Africa, we are growing. What is it that will work for us so that we can now grow into what it has to be? And thankfully, Mommy Sawa said it, inclusion had been since. This is not a 38 years that our son had been diagnosed with autism.
It's not new.
We'll walk into it where we are right now. Let's figure out what works for us. That's just my take, man.
Exactly. And I'm saying that we must train the teachers.
Yes, they're not ready for the kids.
The different things. But if we're not training the teachers, and we have a special education university here in Ghana, a lot of them are not really interested in special education. I'm sorry.
They just found themselves there.
Exactly, because they didn't make it to Legon, or they didn't, God forgive me, I hope nobody's hearing and will come in, because they ended up going there. And I got, like you have the national service, and we have that in Ghana. After 1 year, I got some people who we thought, oh, they did rehab and disability. I'm sorry, but they were the worst lot that got to do the national service. They were interested in doing something else because they take the degree to go something else. I looked at one boy and I said to him, you know something, privately, and I said, you know something, God is not happy with you because you don't care about these children. You're just here, you come to work whenever. In the end, I had to let him go. I said, I'm sorry, I'm not signing your document because we have to be firm and strict with them and let them know, listen, the buck stops here. We're not going to put up with all these things. When I first started, we used to take whoever would come and help. But like I've learned a lot from Dotun today because I'm trying to streamline the people that we get. And COVID has affected us terribly, whether we will still center or not. It's all in God's hand. But with us, and fortunately, somebody started building a place for us, and they ran out of money. And then, thankfully, I'll send you pictures. Thankfully, we got a little bit more money. And I said to the developer, you know something? Put the structure up, just cover it up. And we can always find a way to divide it. This is Africa. We can even have nuts and things. And if we don't, if you're in preschool, why do you need giving chairs in preschool? You need to sit on the floor. And we Africans, we come and they're busy in their fancy skirts and things. They don't want to sit on the floor. My friend, wear jeans and sit on the floor. So you can play with the children. It's difficult.
Thank you so much, ma'am. A lot of we have a lot of comments, and so that we make things easier and clear, I'm going to read out the comments, but I've been scrolling through a few of them before I decide to put them all up now. You see, nobody's saying it's not an inclusive world. Nobody's saying inclusion is not achievable. We're just saying, let's say the reality of where we are right now in this part of the world. We need to consider the need of the child. We need to consider how prepared the teachers are. Even like we said we have mild, moderate, severe, profound. Whatever the child needs, we are in support of whatever the child. And what we are speaking right now is how ready are we? So nobody's saying inclusion can never take place. And I'm going to read, and that's why I need to put that disclaimer out right now. We are all in support of what we are, particularly that individual child. What does that child need? And then who is ready to support that child? It's beyond just opening the door for the children to come and feed or to separate colors and all of that. There's more. There's more. Besides, you can have any form of the ways inclusion can be practiced. So please, let me quickly read out some of the things. Many teachers are not trained on inclusion, okay? And many schools are not willing to release their teachers for trainings. Thank you so much for that, capturing that. Someone is said to know what almost says, every child is different. One size does not fit all. Inclusion is a good idea, but should be considered on individual basis where possible. That is what we are saying. Now, it says the question should be what behind or driving the behavior. And that's another thing. Most times, you put children in inclusive schools and teachers don't even understand. There's no school-wide behavior management plan. There's nothing, or nobody even understand. There's no classroom. There's no way to even manage the child who is living with autism. So everything is just put the child out. They're scared. Oh, come and take this child and all of that. There must be an holistic plan for the child and every other child in that classroom. So even about favoritism, I'm so sorry if I murdered your name. I'm so sorry, D. White. As much as possible, kids who can access should be given opportunities. Absolutely. This is the key. These same kids are all growing and will face inclusive situations. And let's not forget that inclusion is not just about education. Mommy Sewa said that, I think Sakode also said it. It's not just education, because I also believe in it very much. I'm an inclusive educator, because when you see some children that are hostile, or individuals who are hostile towards individuals with disability or children with autism, particularly talking about autism today, they've never understood them from the onset, from like preschool to elementary school and all that. So they're like, and that's the problem I think we're having even in this part of the world. Talking about providing support for individuals with disability. Our leaders, and I hate to say this, they don't even have they've not interacted. You know, that's enough. They don't know about us without us. You cannot be making plans about the individuals you don't know anything about. And we're looking at an inclusive world. Okay, so every child should be given the opportunity, okay? But inclusion can be practiced in different ways.
Lola,
Yes,
sorry. Let me take Ibinabo's comment.
Yes, ma'am.
There needs to be a definition of what is inclusion. What is inclusion to you? My definition of inclusion is that the child has to be in an environment where there is in a least restrictive environment where the child is accepted. So I'll take the child with special needs, for instance, as an example. The child with special needs goes into a mainstream school. He has hypersensitivity to sound, to crowd, and to probably even to temperature. He's in a classroom now where we have a lot of our schools, we have air conditioning. The child is cold, but the child has no language. The child cannot communicate to you that I am cold. The child there's too much noise in the classroom. You find the child covering his or her ears, loud sound, and all the therapist or the assistant wants to do is to hands quiet. That's what we hear a lot in Nigeria, or hands down. The child has to suffer through remember, when people that have a voice in the area of special needs can use language, they describe oversensitivity to sound as painful. The child has to sit through that pain in that environment. How can we support such an individual in that environment? The teacher does not understand anything about sensory integration. The teacher does not understand anything about behavior management. Probably there are 20 or 30 people in the classroom, and the teacher and the assistant, and just one person to support that individual with special needs. There has never been any country anywhere in the world where total inclusion has been successful. And that is because you cannot fit our children in a box.
No.
Some of them will do well in mainstream school. I am a strong advocate of inclusion. And that is because the minute one of my children is ready to go to mainstream school, I am ready to send them out, send them to school. And my ideology, if you ask any parent that has gone through Patrick's, is that let that child go to mainstream school without support for a couple of weeks. Let's try it out. But the minute the child begins to be different, I'll give you a story of a boy shortly. The minute the child begins to be different, the school is not willing to work with the family on that. They either tell them to go get a therapist or they tell them to put the child on the And all the work we have been doing over the years is zeroed in one day. I'll give you the story of a very young, wonderful boy, creative, that came to us at Patrick's. That boy, in 6 months, developed language, was able to talk, use language, very bright, very good with maths and everything. He went to mainstream school. The first thing I noticed was that when I went to visit him in the mainstream school, I saw him hanging by the window. Class was going on, but he was outside of the classroom. Number one, the school wasn't prepared to take him on. Secondly, also, they did not take into cognizance his sensory overload. So quickly, they put him on medication. That boy was on medication for how many years? Eventually, they took him out of the country, took him abroad, brought him back. So you see, he's been going back and forth. The damage that the medication did to that boy is unexplained. There was a day he went to the market with his mom, and 5 men tried to hold him because he wanted to take banana from somebody's the woman's stall. He wanted banana, and it wasn't banana, it was plantain, but he didn't know the difference. So the mother was explaining that his plantain is not banana. But if you saw how wild he became that market, 5 people could not hold him because he was in inclusion. So we need to be careful about how we manage it. Inclusion is not the child has to go and learn ABC. I've told parents. When my son was growing up and I saw that he had challenges with speech, I said to him, it looks like you are not going to go to school. It's okay, because I can see that your eyes are working, your ears are hearing, your hands are working. I will introduce you to a piano lesson. Churches are always looking for piano organs. There's nothing that music, you can make a life out of being a musician. I did not know that he would eventually fall into the place of mathematics. If the child by the age of 8, 9, 10 is struggling with academics, please find what that individual can do. It's very painful when we get the children back to us at 15, when almost it's too late to even find what the child is interested in. Because we buried that child in mainstream school. My child has to go to mainstream school. I support mainstream schooling for children with special needs that can function in mainstream school. And there are many mainstream schools that are doing training, but there are so many, many more that are not.
Yes.
And if you don't train the teachers first, then train the children. My advice always is to find somebody in that child's class that can body that child. There are many children that you can, and what that will do for the entire classroom is that child with special needs has changed their perception about life. that everything is not black and white. It can be yellow, green, orange, purple. So the children will grow up understanding that not all children can talk. Not all children can learn the way I learn. Some people learn differently. So you're not only educating the child with special needs, you're educating the classroom, you're educating the whole school.
Exactly.
So where does inclusion come in? It comes in the acceptance. Inclusion is accepting that we have somebody with us. We are willing to go the whole way. And our religious houses are also guilty. Because if we see people with special needs in our churches, it will make a difference. If you have somebody with special needs that takes the money bag around in the church, nobody will be looking at and be doing like this, that, oh, how would I get that? You know, they will be bold to come and talk about their child with special needs.
True.
You know, I just want to say that we have at ACT, we have a lot of regular schools around us. And as Dr. has said, sometimes people don't come to our center full time. They go to the inclusive schools twice a week or 3 times a week, whatever. And it's important that they come back so we can be working on their speech behavior.
Or even after school.
Yeah, the minute we mention inclusion, they don't want to be, it's the stigma, you see, or they don't want to do anything with us anymore. One particular child that was sent back to us, and he's very bright, and I keep telling the parents, he doesn't belong here. So finally, they agreed for us to train somebody. Now he's 15, but he's so brilliant that he goes to school, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to go at the time. And then I saw the videos they sent to me, and he was in class 3 with the people. I said, oh no. We have to go and talk to the principal and say, no, he has to be with his peers because they're always looking at academics. It is about socialization. You know, because if we're saying that somebody wrote something about inclusive society, yes, that's what I'm talking about. We all 3 of us here are advocates for inclusion, but we have to be realistic and don't just say and leave the children there and think you're going about your business. And I must say that the parents, if you don't put in the effort, because if your child is in an inclusive class, you better be on the teachers all the time. Find out, does your child have a buddy or buddies? We do a buddy system, or wherever schools they go to. And the schools that we work with, when we have our Christmas days and different things, they come AU Day, or we really get involved and get in on excursions. Whoever is available, then we arrange that we have that. And thankfully, one of our supporters does an inclusive fun game for us every year. And there are about 7 other schools that come. So they, for 4 years now, they know children with disabilities. And it was just with our center, only disabilities school. But now we involve the government schools and different things. So inclusion, I will say, is not necessarily in the classroom alone. It is a total, it's around you. In your market, we go to the markets with our children. In the beginning, it was very difficult. But now when they come, they're like, hey, our children have come, come and get orange. Come and get this, come and sit by me. And the children are learning these things. So when they go home and their parents take them to the market, like to have a meltdown like that, it's, you know, and you be explaining things. It's like inclusion, I keep saying it's not just in the classroom. It is a total way of teaching, because when we were taught, we were not just taught in the classroom. Your mother sends you to the market, go and buy this, or go to the neighbors, do all these things and different things. It has to be all part of that. But just because your child has autism, they come home and you put an iPad in front of them and they just watch TV or they do whatever. And you don't really get to see what homework. parents will complain, oh, we didn't get a homework. You send the homework home and it's not done. Go figure. What are we to do?
Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. This was just a question, and everybody's been putting in their comments, and it looks like we're all speaking the same language. So someone said, that's Charity. It said, it's an inclusive, but every child must not. Let's be careful of the language. Nobody said must, must. No, we said different factors that could affect inclusion. Okay, so nobody said every child must learn in special school. No, nobody's saying that. Whatever the child needs, however the child needs, all about the child. Okay, so if the child needs a one-on-one and the school cannot provide that, let the child get what the child needs at that time. There's several ways, there's other needs. And another thing I've also realized is that we tend to cluster all disabilities the same way. And I'm thankful for how Mommy Sarah said it, that you cannot put autism under another top disability. It starts on its own because it's wide. A child with learning disability, probably a child with dyslexia, might even do well in a place where full inclusion is being practiced. But today is not about inclusion, but we do not do trade out there that we are totally in support of inclusive education. We're just saying, are we ready, and how ready are we? What are the things that should be put in place? And we've said it, the level of severity of the child, teachers training, schools, what are you doing, and all of that. So please, everyone, we are in support of inclusive education, but we need to think of the child's needs first. Thank you. Let's move away from inclusive education right now. Now, Mr. Akode, this question is 4-in-1 for you. The first thing is, I remember you started this journey about 15 years ago. What were your challenges then? Because we have some people also, even with the fact that we have individuals who are supporting them, we have centers with who support children with autism right now. We still have some people who are still feeling, what are the challenges? What were your challenges then when you first launched out? Now, the other question is, what is now driving you? You ask, what were the challenges? What drives you every day? And the next question is, what projection what would you say the future of the field of, this autism, the future of individuals with autism in Nigeria? What projection do you see as a future in Nigeria? And the last question is, what are your greatest fears? I think the future and the greatest fears might be met together. What was it like when you started? What is keeping you going? What do you see the future of individuals with disability, and what are your fears?
Okay, thank you. My first, I think I will go with the fear. My fear, my greatest fear right now, post-COVID, is that I just pray that we will be able to rise up after this lockdown. Because what has happened now is that many families that ordinarily would have been able to afford the services, a lot of them have lost their jobs. Service rendered, some of them will have no choice but to go to those mediocres out there that do not have the skills but are willing to take anything, to support themselves. That is why we decided that during this COVID, our mission will be to train teachers. So if eventually it ends up being one-on-one with teachers, at least we will have trained hands out there that can support the families. My first challenge at the beginning of this journey is belief. Many Nigerians did not believe that a Nigerian can open a center in Nigeria and it will be successful. So we are glad we've been able to prove them wrong. Nigerians would rather go to they call it those that are knowledgeable, the developed world. They would rather have somebody, probably if we open the center and we put maybe somebody from the US or South Africa. What was reigning at our time was that parents were taking their children to South Africa. Yes. And they were staying there. And we wanted that to kind of stop. So what we got was what Mommy Sewa said. The people out there that went to special education school but did not know anything about special education. We had challenges with those that could not speak English properly, but they had the background of special education. They had the wrong intonation. So what did we do at Patrick's? First of all, we found those people. So I would say the first challenge was personnel, even before finances, because we didn't really struggle too much with finances. It came fully funded. So personnel was one of the biggest. So what we did was that we got an English teacher to come in the afternoon to teach our graduates in quotes, English language, how to speak, how to write. Some of them, they write reports for you. Jesus, you will be back flipping. So we did not say because they didn't have the skills, we would look for the people with the skills. They had the foundation of special education, but they did not have the right foundation in terms of reading and learning. So we had to go back to their own foundation to support them, and we did support them. Did they do well? Fantastically well. A lot of them came out strong after we did this. So we got an English teacher that would come and teach them English language. Some of them struggled through it. They really struggled, but they were getting better as the years were growing over the years. So we had to deal with personnel. Many people didn't know what they had never heard of autism. So we would bring a resource person from the UK, the US, or somewhere to come and train us. Since we can't carry everybody there, we bring a resource person. So we started with training so that we would have a solid foundation. We were training them every year, continuous professional development. We will bring a speech and language therapist, we'll bring a behavioral person, we'll bring OT, we'll bring sensory. We've done it all. We've even gone ahead to bring somebody that will teach us sex education. We brought somebody from the US to come and teach our teachers how to teach our children sex education. And in every part of this training, what we will do to support our local community is to write Lagos State to send in their teachers. So we will not only train teachers at Patrick's, we train teachers at Lagos that are working with our children in the public schools, because we wanted them also to know how to use the skills. So personnel was one of the major challenges. Another thing is the belief, the trust. We had to build it. Everybody says, oh, Patrick. We built it from scratch, from nothing. God really, really helped us and stayed with us. We were dogged about it, that we will prove Nigerians wrong, that Nigerians can do great things. So the drive is the children and the people we serve. A couple of days ago, about 2 weeks ago, one of my parents called me and said, Mrs. Akonde, your daughter graduated. You are part of her foundation. I just thought I should let you know. That's the drive. When you see there is nobody in 15 years that we have worked with, no child that has stepped foot in Patrick's speech that has left the same. None. The challenge we have is that many of our parents are in a hurry. They don't wait for the yam to be done before they remove it from the fire. And it boils down to this: I want my child in mainstream school. Yes, but let us help you prepare him, so that when he goes into mainstream school, he will never return to us. Sure. Leave us to tell you when it's time to intervene. But what they believe is that Nigerians are not honest. Some people will go and tell them that those people are just taking your money. You better remove your child and quickly let him go to mainstream school. Because they won't tell you, because they want to be taking your money. That's why they are not telling you that your child needs to. We need to wait. There's a right time for integration, for inclusion. There's a right time. When the child is ready, nobody needs to tell you, even you will know. And we prepare them so well that when they leave us, either to go for inclusion or to go for a vocation, they go and they do well in their field. That is our drive. And that's one thing we are proud of and one thing we are known for. If anybody tells you that my child went to Patrick's and the child did not do well, it's because the parents were not willing to partner with us. To that level. That partnership is needed. We both need to work together. Sometimes parents feed those children to us. Mrs. Akonde, is your child. That's your child. Go and handle it. It doesn't work if we are not in partnership to make this happen.
True.
The future is very bright because I rose from a conference that we worked for 10 years, GC Bank conference recently. I am moving from speaking to doing. And that is because there is so much we have been saying over the years. So much we have been talking about. So many families have come to the realization that it is not a cost to have a child with autism. It has gotten so good now. GT Bank has done so well now that they've made autism look interesting. Some people even wish that the disability their child has is autism. You know, they've made it look like autism is on a platter of gold. But we've been speaking for 10 years. It's time to move on to doing. How do we do it? How do we support many growing? I'll put it growing because autism is on the rise everywhere. Growing number of children that we are seeing that probably may never thrive in mainstream school. How do we support them in functional life skills? Auntie Sarah, you went to Heart Spring. Look at what was done in Heart Spring. And then we say that exclusion is wrong. Look at Heart Spring. It's a fully exclusive school. But the product of that place builds functional life skills. So we're not saying our children that can cope in the environment should not go ahead and do that. But there are many that will not be able to cope. And in the Nigeria of today, I tell you, in all the educational forums I've been since the beginning of COVID, special education has never been mentioned. They have only been tapping on the children that can. What about our children that can't and are struggling? What about our families that can barely feed, not to talk of send their children to special for therapy? Bear it in mind, if you spend $1 million on a child that does not have special needs, you will spend $5 million on a child with special needs because they need much more.
True.
So if you take that as the future, I say from my time, my target is the next 10 years. What can I do? What can I put in practice? All that I've done, been speaking 10 years. My next 10 years must be something that the world can see and say, yes, this is what Mrs. Akonde has been able to do. And her team, bear it in mind, I'm not the only one, including Lola that's speaking here. We are all going to have to start now from all that we know and we've learned, to put our hands in the plow and not look back. How we are going to do it, I don't know. But I serve a God who can do exceedingly abundantly above.
Absolutely.
And I believe that is something, if we hold hands, COVID has come to teach us that life is not about us. It's about the people we serve. It's about the community we belong to. It's about the family we are able to support. It has opened our eyes. All the big scientists, all the Mr. Know-it-all and everything, God has told us that I am the only one that rules in the affairs of men.
True.
If they could solve COVID, we won't be where we are today. So that is how I know that the future is going to be bright. Because it has opened the door of collaboration. See what we've all been able to do since this time. And can see Auntie Sewa, who is miles away from me. We can Zoom together. We can WhatsApp together. We can StreamYard together. So it's, so there's so much we can do collectively. And we will do it with the government, if they are willing to partner with us. Without the government, if they are not willing to partner with us, it is going to happen, and we are going to get there.
Absolutely. Wow. We're going to do this again. But before we go, yes, Ma, you can say something.
I said with or without the government.
Absolutely.
Because we will do it.
Yes.
I constantly on interviews and they ask you, say, what has government done? I'm like, don't ask me about government because I have to be careful. We live in Africa. You have to be careful what you say about them. But I don't think landlord for special needs. As Dr. mentioned, COVID is here. We have private institutions. Nobody is doing anything for us to support families. There are families who are hungry. There are families that we have tried to find ways to support them and things. There's something that I wrote and I sent around to different people. Some people have tried. But where does government come in and say, what we are doing is what government should be doing? We are supporting the government. Our efforts, without our efforts, special needs would not be where it is today. And I can proudly say that for 22 years, and there's so many children who have gone through us to the mainstream school or inclusive schools. And so it breaks my heart when they return somebody. Because when you advise parents, and Dr. said, it is a partnership. And when you come, you should know that it's a partnership. From now on, if you go back to school, if you don't want to partner with us, I'm sorry. Then you have to find another place to go.
True. Wow. Thank you so much, Ma. Your question is 2 in 1. I will round this off. So, the first question is, what has been your wow moments? Because it's one thing, I say, when people say to me, Lola, well done, I'm like, I give kudos to those parents who have children with whatever disability, autism, Down syndrome, ADHD, dyslexia, because they live with these children 24/7. I will only do what I can as a professional. So, what have been your wow moment in what you're doing? Well, before you say before you say that, we want you to talk about, tell us the name of your organization, what you're doing in your organization, what have been your wow moments, and then the last one is there's always been this debate about boarding house for children with autism or not. What's your take on that, particularly considering the level of severity of the child? So first, tell us about your organization, what you're doing, how you're doing it, your wow moment, and your take on boarding house or boarding facility for children with autism, particularly those children. I want you to talk a bit on the level of severity. Just give us an insight into what your take is on boarding house for children with autism.
The Autism Center, our name alone says Autism Awareness Care and Training. We got the name, that name God gave to me, came to me in a dream, thinking of what I was going to do. There was no awareness in Ghana. Nobody knew about autism, and children needed to be trained and given some care. So that's the name AACT. Such an action word is ACT. This is why we are acting. This is why we have that name. So we do functional academic, you name it, whatever we do, we do that. ILS skills, and ILS skills start from the day you come to the center, because you know a lot of children have dental problems, so they don't like to have, because of the sensory need to brush the teeth, and I know quickly. So we do all that. Art therapy, if you can see, I purposely sat here today so you can see some of the artwork, whatever you can see. This is what in my house is full of artwork from the center. I keep taking the artwork. And one of them they gave to me for my 70th, and I haven't framed it yet. And so we do art therapy, music therapy, whatever we can find. And I keep telling people we don't have money, whatever we can do. Right now, and we're trying to also start kente weaving with the children. Autism is the same things over and over, and we're looking for money to do that. So it's like we do everything, and whatever has been done in the schools, we do that. But I call ourselves, we're not a school because we're a center. We're teaching people to eat, we're teaching people to be toilet trained, we're teaching anything, with the children with autism, all these things. But my wow moments have been many. But there's a special child that many of them, in fact, the parents should forgive me, there have been many. Because when I see a child do so well, and those who are there, and you take them and they're not talking, they can't say anything, but you take them to a shop because you've been working with them, and you teach them to shelf, and they do it meticulously, better than the people they work with. I'm not even going to talk about my son because he's in a different ballgame, because he's able to go to work. Right? Recently, a bank came to look at him to see whether he can do data entry for them. So there are many, many wow moments, and there are other children like him. And these are our inclusive programs that we run, because it's not done at the center. It goes to the place called Malcolm. I don't know if you have Malcolm in Nigeria. And Malcolm, and they do the shelving and they do different things. And the one moment, sometimes when the child just looks at you and you think they don't really respond, and then you give them some work to do. There's a boy we have now, we're trying to get into an inclusive setting. And he did all these multiplications, just using the bottle caps. And this is what we save all these. And this is what we use for math, addition, and blah, 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 when we don't have. So it's like there's so many wow moments. And the last question was, I've forgotten a little because I'm getting old, you see.
I was talking about the issue of boarding house. So we were talking about the different level of severity for autism, and we said, what would be your take on having a boarding facility? Compared with just call, oh, my child has been diagnosed, but I'm too big. Well, I don't want to use that word, but what is your take on boarding facility for children with autism? And give us your reason based on level of severity and all of that, man.
On the level of the spectrum, no matter what level of the spectrum you are, I don't believe in a boarding house. I believe that when you become an adult, like after transition, and this is from 16 going and you are done with school, because we don't have any place for children, I'm thinking we can have group homes, because we have to have an exit plan. Some of us parents, were getting older, and whether you're old, like younger, even, you still have to think of the exit plan in future. So we have to think of these group homes, smaller places where maybe 4 or 6 children live with them, because institutions are not the way to go, because you get sexual abuse, you get all kinds of abuse. We have to have a place where we can have cameras. Like at our center right now, we have cameras in every classroom. Somebody donated it. But boarding, I only believe when you become a man and you want to do your own things. Like, for instance, my son had gone, and we have a place I went to visit him to go and join him. He told me to leave because he has some words. He keeps saying, "Mommy, go." He was serious. He didn't want me to cramp his style. He's enjoying his place with his friends. And so we need that for when they're older, because it's independence. We have to start training them from when you get a diagnosis. Teach your child how to be independent in future, because that can go away from you and then you'll be happy. This is one thing we are looking to build for the future, because I have so many children now who are like 18 plus going. So eventually that will be, but it will not be a full-time. If a parent doesn't show up to pick up their child for the weekend, unless you can't, then you know that you forfeit your place, because it's not going to be a glorified babysitting service where you come and dump your child and then you are happy and going to your parties and wearing your gele or your kente or whatever and just your work for us to do. But we will eventually, I know there's a need for that, but for children, I don't think boarding is the right thing for them.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Mr. Akole, do you have anything to say to that before we call it a day, ma'am?
Yes, thank you, Lola, for bringing me to this program. Very interesting, very insightful, and I've learned a lot. Tisewa has shared part of who she is. I know her story, but even with knowing her story, there's a new page every day that I see. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing. And for parents,
thank you.
my advice is that we should try as much as possible to look beyond the challenges of our children with special needs. Any child that has a special needs is a gift, and there's a reason behind it. Every child has an opportunity to self-advocate and to self-regulate. So you need to encourage our children from a young age to be their own spokesperson. Even if the child does not have a voice, he must have a choice to self-advocate and to self-regulate, depending on wherever they are in the environment. The environment that you are bringing them up in must be rich, must be thriving, must be productive. So those are the important things. When your child becomes an adult, please let him live a full and functional life And like Auntie Sewa said, functional life skills starts from a very young age. You start to teach it from a very young age. By the time they get older, they will be able to be independent of everybody. The parents are going to are going to leave them at the mercy of their siblings. When they are at the mercy of their siblings, let the siblings to have a life, so the individual can live on his own. I like the group home spoken about by Auntie Sewa. I have a young lady that is looking at something like that in Nigeria as well. So the light is always at the end of it. Forwards and look towards it. Thank you very much.
I had to put it up. Thank you so much, ma. We have the legend of and the matriarch of autism in Nigeria and in Ghana in the house. And I feel so privileged to have both of you at the same time. I am so overwhelmed with joy. Thank you so much, Mommy Sarah. Thank you, Auntie Dotu. We love you. We appreciate you. Everyone loves you. Someone says, thank you, Lola. Thank you for bringing the legends into the house. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Akonde. Everybody's just, we all love you. Everybody just sending their love. Everybody's sending the power duo. Like you guys are
We
the
love
best.
them all
Thank
too.
you
Thank
so
you
much.
so
Thank
much
you
for
so much.
attending. Thank you for
Thank you.
listening
Thank you
to
everyone for
us.
joining in. We appreciate you and we love you. Don't forget to sign up for the Special Educator Summer Conference coming up on the 18th and the 20th. You want to hear more, you want to connect more with Mommy Sewa, with Auntie Dotu, with everyone in this field, please join us and let's have a good time together. Until I come your way next time, I remain your truly, Lola Aneke, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. I love you all and I thank you, Mommy Sewa, once again, and Auntie Dotu for joining us. Have a beautiful week ahead, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.